So Dan, you're sitting here in your new EcoDiesel. So first of all, can you tell me when you got the truck, and then when you first felt something was a little bit weird with the acceleration?
So purchased the truck approximately 3 weeks ago, and right away, about a week after I bought it, started noticing the sluggishness that everyone's talking about.
Hey everybody, what you're looking at right here is the 2015 Ram 1500 EcoDiesel, and on this episode of Dude, I Love or Hate My Ride, we're going to be talking all about this truck. We'll get to the truck owner in just a moment, but first we have to provide some backstory. So the story first came to us here at TFL through some emails that we received complaining about performance in Ram 1500 EcoDiesels that had been recalled. Now the purpose of the recall was to change up the emissions control software, and the backstory on that is that an investigation by the United States Department of Justice along with the EPA found that Ram 1500 EcoDiesels were polluting over legal limits, so therefore the emissions control software had to change. Now FCA basically settled with the government and with those government agencies, and under the terms of the settlement, these trucks have to have their emissions control software replaced, an extended warranty has to be provided for all updated vehicles, and then cash compensation is also being provided. But note here that so far the cash compensation has only been promised to US customers. Canadian truck owners like the one you're about to meet, so far anyways, are not included in the cash settlement. So it was at the dealer, I guess, they did the recall, right? When the truck was probably traded back in or something.
Yeah, so this one's a 16, and apparently this was done around June time from what I understand.
Okay.
And when I picked up the truck, salesman had already taken the vehicle out, got it up to operating temperature, and when I drove it, it drove fine. But that next day, when you fire the truck up cold and go to pull out the driveway, it's like totally different truck.
Yeah, so everyone says it happens much worse when it's cold, so that's been your experience as well, huh?
Absolutely.
All right, man, well, I think the next thing we can do is go out and go for a drive, and I'll feel it.
Absolutely.
So, the 2014 to 2016 Ram 1500 EcoDiesel and Jeep Grand Cherokee EcoDiesel have all been recalled and had this approved emissions modification, or AEM, performed on them. That's when the emails started hitting our inbox complaining about performance with these engines after the AEM is completed. Basically, there were two main symptoms. First of all, a really big delay in acceleration when you're taking off with a cold engine, and then number two was a decrease in fuel economy. Now, since the story hit, we have received hundreds of emails from Ram owners complaining about this exact circumstance. I went out and met up with Dan in St. Catharines, Ontario, close to Niagara Falls, and he told me the story of his truck, and then we went for a drive. Okay, perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and start her up here. So again, this EcoDiesel is totally cold, right? It hasn't run today?
Has not ran today.
Okay, perfect. And that's the idea here. We want to feel it right off the hop. So exactly, my foot on the brake, exactly like you would do if you're driving to work, right? We start it up, you'd wait a couple seconds, then you'd go.
Yep.
So let's go see how she feels. Oh, here it is. Okay, there. So that was my very first time accelerating. It's definitely worse. Yep. I've driven a ton of EcoDiesels. My brother owned one of these trucks. I certainly have a lot of experience. When the power hit, it felt okay. Like it feels, you know, just like the power used to feel, but it definitely took an extra second there. So yeah. I'm gonna just slow down again. Actually, there's a stop sign. It'll be a good chance.
Yeah, hang a right up here.
Okay.
And you'll notice it especially, like that was coming out of the driveway in first gear.
Yeah.
If you do a little bit of a rolling stop, not to say we do anything ever illegal, but
of course.
what's regular, you know,
sure.
You'll see what I mean.
World.
If it keeps it in second, then you'll really start to notice it.
Yeah. And there it is. And you're right, actually, you're right. There's no downshift there. No. Where you might expect to put your foot into it and then feel that downshift.
Yes.
It doesn't really happen. So again, with the AEM, that's the update that they did. They changed out a bunch of things. So it's transmission shift mapping, and then I think probably the biggest thing is how the EGR works. And so it just seems to me like, yeah, it's got to hit a certain RPM before it allows it to really, pump the turbo up and give you that power.
Yep.
It's interesting. And then once you're cruising, it's fine, right?
It's not too bad, yeah. No, it's just like a regular truck when you're cruising.
Yeah, exactly. But it's all about these stops. So here's another stop sign. We'll come to a complete stop. I'm assuming I can go right.
Yeah, you can go right. And then put the pedal down about a quarter. Because that's the way I would pull out of here.
Sure.
Now, say someone starts to come on you, put it down a little more.
And now I'm to the floor.
Now you're, yeah.
I just wanted to feel it. So, yeah, when I went to the floor there too, it's not bad. It comes on, but there's 2 to 3 seconds there that were not there before.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not everyone that drives these trucks is, super aggressive or might not be used to having to drive this thing more aggressive, because I think that's probably going to be something huge.
And I think it is also safe to say that a diesel owner, you don't need to ring a diesel up normally, right? That's kind of the point, is you want that low end power to hit without you having to bury your foot.
You should not have to bury the foot.
Yeah.
Especially for regular driving.
Yeah, and just anything where that it forces you to totally adjust your driving style. Is this my right here?
Can go right
Perfect. Here. Is just strange, right? Especially when the company, FCA, is saying that in its official literature that this wasn't supposed to change anything. Here it is again.
That's when it's the worst, when you're easier on it.
Yeah,
see what I mean?
You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. You're right. At full throttle, it says, okay,
full
we
throttle,
go.
you'll go. You'll get up.
And then the other thing, too, we've heard a lot of complaints about, and this is understandable, is when you have a trailer. I don't know if you tow anything.
Well, I put my quad in the back, and it's worse.
Yeah, you feel
it's not better.
Yeah, sure.
It's always worse.
Yeah, you add, 500 pounds worth of ATV, and
go left.
For sure, you're going to feel that lag even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even it's funny, right? It even feels better than it did when we first pulled out, but it still doesn't feel like an EcoDiesel used to feel. Like there's still that delay. So it's almost as though it's watching the temp climb and saying, okay, well now we can give you a little bit more.
Yeah, something's...
But again, because at lower temperatures, it's all about emissions, right? That's what this whole update is.
Yeah.
And at the lower temps, the emissions are worse. So they're making sure they curb those emissions where they're going to be the worst before the engine's heated up. And we're almost at half now, so we're almost right up to operating temp. Otherwise, if I can say this just to make FCA feel a little bit better, it's a nice truck.
Oh yeah.
It
Besides,
drives.
this is the only thing, right?
Yeah, for sure. It drives beautifully.
Right.
So I think, that's a lot for driving impressions. I have one more question for you, Dan, and it's just, as a customer, what would you like the resolution here to be? Would you be happy if Ram gave you $2,000 and said, here you go away? Would you be happy if they took your truck back and changed the mapping again? What would make you happy as a customer?
Making me happy would honestly just be change the truck. Not back to what it was, but just try to improve on making that cold operating temp. Like, I don't want to pull out. I don't want this to be an excuse of why I got rear-ended by a truck.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah,
like,
and I think, I don't know the engineering behind it either, but, FCA, this has all been software, no hardware.
Yeah.
So that's the question, right? Is there a piece of hardware? Is there actually something physical in the EGR they can change that will help your low end when it's cold?
The money thing, a lot of guys in the States are saying, yeah, the money's great because that just paid for me to delete it and tune it.
Not what FCA wants, but hey, whatever, man.
Well,
if you want your power back, that's fair.
But I don't know. The money thing money doesn't change how the truck drives, in my opinion. I want them to change how the truck drives.
Sure. You bought it because you wanted it to drive the way you thought it would, right?
Well, it's just, I can go take out any other Chevy truck or any other Ford truck, and I'm sure none of them will have the similar feeling. They all just get up and go right off the hop.
Gotcha.
So
perfect. Well, I think that's good for the interview, Dan. I really appreciate you letting me do this, man. This has been huge.
Right here.
Emails keep on flooding in from owners about this AEM update and their truck's performance, so it will be interesting to see if Ram responds to the criticism. And to be fair, we have also received a handful of emails from owners saying that after the AEM, they don't feel any difference. The truck feels exactly the same. So we do have a few positive reports, but they definitely do not outweigh the negative reports. So that's it for this video, guys. Make sure you go below, leave a comment, hit like, hit subscribe, and then come back here to the channel for the latest news, views, and real world reviews. See ya.